Well, hello and good afternoon. My name is Dr. Michelle Arthurs. I'm a board certified family medicine physician and I specialize in lifestyle medicine. My practice is based out of the Kaiser Permanente office in Camp Springs. I am joined today by some incredible colleagues, Dr. Schwiso and Dr. Latimer. And this is our part two to gut health. We had a presentation about a year ago and are excited to be back with you to talk more. To all the audience and anyone joining us, this is meant to be interactive. So we really encourage you to send in questions to us. Please don't hesitate to do that. We're here for you. We are excited to be talking to you today about nutrition and gut health. The terms gut health and gut microbiome, excuse me, have been very popular lately. But what do they actually mean? We're here today to talk and share as much as we can about what gut health is, how to maintain a nutritious, gut-friendly lifestyle, and why the gut is so important for our overall health and well-being. So it'd be great to get started by having my fellow panelists introduce themselves. Dr. Schwiso, would you like to start?
Hi, thanks so much for having me here for part two. This is certainly exciting. My name is Dr. Schwiso, and I am a board certified gastroenterologist practicing at Kaiser Permanente in Northern Virginia.
And
Great.
next, we have Dr. Latimer.
Hello, I'm Dr. Latimer. I am a board certified gastroenterologist currently practicing at Kaiser Permanente in Northern Virginia as well.
Excellent. Well, it's exciting to be here with both of you. I know you are both not just experts in the field, but also very passionate about gut health. And to get us started, Dr. Latimer, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what gut health really means and what is the gut microbiome?
Great, I'd love to. So gut health, it's a term that's very widely used, and there's a lot of excitement about this field. And it's because we continue to learn more things about our gut health. But it's not strictly defined. So when I'm talking about gut health, what I'm talking about is the activity within your GI tract that can either positively or negatively affect your overall health and how you feel. So you can have good gut health or bad gut health, whether you realize it or not. There's a lot going on inside your GI tract that is going to affect you. And so one of the reasons why this has become so exciting is because we now understand a lot more about our gut microbiota and our gut microbiome. And a lot of times microbiota and microbiome, they're used interchangeably. There are some slight differences, but for this panel, I think we can use them interchangeably. So what it is the gut microbiota is the population, the group of microorganisms that live inside our GI tract. And the gut microbiome is specifically refers to the genetic code from those microorganisms. So the way that and why this matters is I like to use the analogy of a garden. So imagine that we are the garden, okay? And inside this garden, there are a ton of beautiful plants. In this case, these are all of our organ systems. Think like the immune system, your metabolism, your brain function. And in order for you to have a beautiful garden, you need to have this really nice, rich soil. And in this case, this is our gut health. This is the soil in which everything is kind of growing. It's where we get our energy and a ton of nutrients. If you have a really, healthy soil in this garden, your plants will grow. However, if that soil becomes depleted of nutrients, and if it's not really optimized for the plants that are in the garden, what you'll see is that over time, those plants will be stunted. They will start to wither, and ultimately, your garden can become overrun with weeds. And in this instance, the weeds kind of represent disease processes or symptoms that can affect your overall quality of life.
I loved how you said that, we'd have to tend our garden, right? And keeping in mind that it's an active process, that it's something we have to be mindful of. And it's a daily commitment to our health. And when we think about our overall health, Dr. Schwiso, what are the health benefits of nurturing this garden, this gut biome?
Yes. So I love Dr. Latimer's description. I 100% support what she said. This is a beautiful way to really start understanding this topic. The way I like to think about it is that, like Dr. Latimer said, it is an ecosystem that lives within us, right? It lives inside of our digestive tract. So anything from your mouth, your stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. Most of them actually are in our large intestine, also known as colon, our approximately 38 trillions of them. So really, when you nurture your gut microbes, you are not only improving your digestion, but you are actually improving other aspects of your health. So it actually spills onto your cardiovascular health, your metabolic health, your blood sugar regulation, your lipid metabolism, blood pressure regulation, things like that. It also can spill onto your skin, the way your skin looks, or your brain health. And it can even affect your risk for certain cancers, colon cancer, esophageal cancer, or breast cancer.
That's very powerful information. We are what we eat. I remember growing up in grade school and hearing that all the time. And so what I'm hearing from you is that we really have to be attentive to it, because we can start to have negative effects of not making sure that we're really taking good care of ourselves.
So when these gut microbes are not nourished properly, they fail. And when they fail, we fail as a result, meaning we are then prone to development of all these diet-related non-communicable diseases, and including cardiovascular disease, which is the #1 cause of death in this country.
And, for our patients out there that are listening, what are some symptoms that, our patients might experience if, their gut health is not as it should be?
Sure. So as gastroenterologists, the #1 thing that we see in our clinics are people suffering from digestive issues. So bloating, gas, change in bowel habits, inability to tolerate certain foods, so food intolerances. But we also see, so outside of the digestive tract, we see things like, for example, chronic fatigue syndrome, brain fog, skin issues, joint pain, joint issues, all sorts of things, slow cognition, exercise intolerance, or poor exercise performance, and things like that.
So it's all related, it's all related. We are this amazing human being, a biochemical factory that can really thrive, or unfortunately the opposite, based on our gut health. And thinking about this, and for my own practice, there's many things that I encourage my patients to think about when it comes to overall health and gut health specifically. And we think about sleep, making sure we have enough sleep, 8 hours, as much of our regular cycle as we can. I know we're going to talk more about nutrition and diet and those specific choices. Our mental health, can impact our gut health as well, and vice versa. Our activity and exercise, and also things like our substance abuse choices or use choices. And Dr. Latimer, and thinking about this constellation of lifestyle choices that impact our gut health, can you talk a little bit about how changes to diet and different types of food really do impact this?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, one of the most important things about your gut microbiome and microbiota is that it can be changed, and it does change based off of what you feed it, right? So you're feeding yourself, but you're also feeding these microorganisms, and they're going to respond to what they are receiving from you. And so, as if you are not eating really healthy, diverse group of foods that these microorganisms need, what happens is that the healthy microbiota start to wither. They start to die from inadequate use. If you don't need them, then they feel like maybe you don't need them, and they don't multiply, and they don't provide all of these really important chemical benefits that will, travel throughout your body. And so as certain populations die, other ones who you are feeding, whether intentionally or unintentionally, with unhealthy food options, they start to grow. And so when you have an unbalanced or imbalanced gut microbiome, this is what we call dysbiosis. So it means that the balance of bacteria has shifted from something that is healthy and that is working for you and is going to have a positive effect to something that is working against you, and you're going to start to see those symptoms that we talked about. One of the best examples, I love the examples that are relatable to people, because I think sometimes the idea can feel complicated, but when you apply them to other things, you find out that they're actually really simple. And an example that I often tell my patients is that think about exercise, because this is perfectly, displayed in exercise. So it's January, it's the new year. Everybody loves to say, new year, this is the year I'm going to get in shape. And our division every in March regularly we do a colon cancer 5K walk and run. So let's say this year I'm saying, okay, I'm going to get in shape and I'm not going to walk. I'm going to decide I want to run this 5K in March. Okay, so in January I join a gym. So great, good intention. You decide to join a gym and you decide you're going to go to the gym 5 days a week, but you go to the gym and you only do the same 2 or 3 exercises every single time you go. So you're going to do bicep curls and tricep curls, and that's about it. And you're going to think, I'm going to the gym regularly and I'm getting healthier. So what's actually happening? The problem is that you're only exercising a few of the muscles that you really should be exercising in order to achieve your goal. And so you do this for 3 months and you get ready to go to the 5K and you start running and you realize you're not prepared. You don't feel well. You become fatigued. You can't run as fast as you wanted. And you feel disappointed because you think, well, I've been exercising for the last 3 months. Why am I not feeling better? Why am I not able to do this? And the problem is that you have neglected other major muscle groups that you really need to achieve your goal. You haven't worked your legs. You have these large muscles in your legs. You've ignored them. You haven't worked your cardiovascular endurance. And so what you're left with is an imbalance. And that's the same thing we see in the gut. If you don't exercise the microbes that are in your gut, the healthy microbes that are in your gut, they become weak from underuse. And over time, you're going to lose the benefit that they would otherwise provide you. So if you want to have a healthy gut, you have to exercise those healthy microbes. And the way that you really do that is by feeding them a diverse group of healthy foods, because each type of microbe is going to require a different nutrient that you're going to get from a different plant. So they're not all the same. They utilize different types of things that you're going to feed them. So you have to exercise them and strengthen them if you really want to benefit from their presence.
Well, yeah, that's excellent. I love the analogy to exercise. It's like you have to move to keep moving, and we have to pay that same sort of attention and dedicate and have that same level of dedication to our gut as well. And speaking about how to be dedicated to our gut health, Dr. Shwiso, would you tell us about the benefits of a plant-based diet, and tell us also about if that means cutting out meat entirely? I think that's a really common question that a lot of patients and other folks have.
Sure, I'm happy to. So this is, the concept of what Dr. Latimer was saying, that you have to diversify your exercise routine, and the same applies in your gut. You want to make diverse populations of different bugs. Diversity is amazing. Diversity is really good also for our gut microbes. When you have a very large, diverse population of bugs, your protection against disease becomes stronger. Your digestive tract becomes better equipped in handling invaders that come through the gut. The gut microbes are actually protecting the junctions that the cells that line your digestive tract, and they're making them stronger, and they're blocking the invaders from invading your gut. So really, why are we even talking about plants? Because plants have fiber, and the good bugs need fiber to survive. They don't really need salt, sugar, or fat to survive. We'll talk about different types of fat, but they certainly need that prebiotic fiber to replicate. So you want to bring the diversity, because this will allow different bacterial species to proliferate, right? So the key to healthy gut health is the diversification of your diet, and especially diet that has prebiotic fiber. Now, we're not here to promote any dietary pattern, okay? We're just going to tell you that there are certain very doable changes. They can be very small that you can start implementing starting today. Today is January. I mean, this is the great time to do this, because when you do that, you will build a habit that will be they will be able to sustain later down the road. So going back to plants, so the importance of plants, prebiotic fiber. So think of it as food for the bacteria. So prebiotic is the food that you will supply to the bacteria to replicate. So the bacteria is actually called the probiotic, so the live microorganism. And they, as a result, when they eat that prebiotic fiber, they will produce something called postbiotic. And postbiotic is basically, it's a short chain fatty acid, which is the most powerful anti-inflammatory molecules that your body can produce. And that has all the implications in all these other bodily functions. So that's why the importance of having plants, and no one disputes that, right? We all know, hey, vegetables are great for you, but we don't really think about why does it matter to eat all these vegetables every day. And this is actually a great segue. Let's say if you have small children at home, this is a great start to start explaining to them, hey, the reason why you actually need to eat broccoli and carrots and other vegetables is because you have bacteria in your gut. So you want to have the good ones, not the bad ones. So so that's one of the reasons, right? So we're not here to tell you, eliminate meat, cheese, eggs, or other animal products. They can certainly stay. They are part of a healthy diet. They can be a part of a healthy diet, but what is really, really important is to focus on what to add to your plate, right? So, in my clinic, I have this rule of 5. So it's 5 plants per day. So I always tell my patients, start your day with a plant, whether it's a fruit or a vegetable, whether it's a whole grain or a legume. Make sure you're starting your day with that, and then count. And by the end of the day, it'll be so easy to get 5 of those on the plate. Another rule that I have is try to come up to 30 plants per week. I'll give you some statistics. It's actually really sad. An average American eats between 5 to 10 plants per week, right? So our goal should be double this or triple this, because that will really assure that you are diversifying these bacteria, that you are providing nutrients for the good bugs to replicate. So 5 per day or 30 per week. Now, when we talk about plants, a lot of people are thinking vegetables. Maybe they'll think fruit, but there's so much more to that, right? People forget that legumes, lentils, chickpeas, that's a plant as well. That whole grains are an incredible source of fiber as well as plants. So just to give you an idea, oats, quinoa, buckwheat, farro, millet, things like that. These are whole grains. They are very, very nutritious. They are high in protein, high in fiber. They should certainly be a staple of your diet. But don't forget about nuts and seeds, different herbs, things like that. That also counts, right? So when I do the counseling in my clinic, I always tell them, like, nuts and seeds absolutely should be a part of your diet because of all the incredible properties that they have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suizo. I think, what I love about what we're talking about here is that, it's a mentality of abundance rather than a mentality of restriction. There are, entire nutrition and diet industries that are out there telling people, don't eat this or don't eat that. And, you know, if there are people who want to improve their health, but they're getting mixed messages and they don't know where to start. And some of the things they're being told, they really aren't sustainable. And so rather than shifting to restriction, we're talking about opening up your diet to the abundance of, you know, plant and food options that are out there for you that are really healthy. And when you shift your mindset, you find that it is a lot easier to be successful in that. And some of the things that, you know, people can do are small shifts in things that they already eat. So for example, you know, I grew up eating a lot of rice and beans, and my mom used white rice, right? And so the beans are really healthy, but I realized if I could switch to brown rice, I would be getting a lot more fiber. It's a lot healthier. It didn't require a huge change for me to make a small benefit. You know, another example is potatoes. You know, a lot of people eat different types of potatoes, and I grew up eating mashed potatoes. I mean, it's like if you go to any restaurant, you can find mashed potatoes on the menu, right? And the problem is that when I learned to make mashed potatoes, I learned to, you know, get the brown russet potatoes and peel all the skin off of them and, you know, mash them and boil them, add a bunch of butter, add a bunch of heavy whipping cream, and it tastes amazing. But in the way that you're cooking it, you're actually losing some potential benefit. And if you can shift to maybe a different potato option, you're going to get a lot more benefit. So what I started doing was, okay, I switched to red potatoes, right? The skins are thinner. You can cut them without having to peel them. So actually, I'm saving time when I cook potatoes because I'm not, you know, peeling and chopping. I'm not, you know, mashing. Instead, I'm just cutting them. I cut out the butter, and instead I put a little bit of olive oil and I stick them in the oven, right? And the reason that it works is because one, it's more nutritious because you get so much fiber from the skin of the red potatoes. It's faster, right? Any change that you make has to fit with your lifestyle. So if it's, you know, either if you feel like it's too expensive or it doesn't fit with what you have to do when you cook food, if it takes too long, you're not going to do it long term. But if you can find ways to make it, you know, faster and easier and more nutritious, then that's a win. And so I think that if people can kind of start to look at areas in which they're already eating and start to make some small shifts, then the idea of adding in, you know, all of these plant-based foods to your diet becomes a lot easier and it doesn't feel so overwhelming.
Oh, beautifully said. Beautifully said. And, you know, for those who are listening, again, don't hesitate to ask us questions. You know, we're here for you. And the way you said it, Dr. Shwiso, the direct connection to inflammation and then the direct connection to anti-inflammation with how we eat. That's such a common question, I think, is, Doc, how do I decrease the amount of inflammation in my body? And what we're really talking about today is these choices, these plant-based choices that can really make such a difference. And as you said, Dr. Latimer, it's an abundance. There are so many wonderful choices out there, you know, whether it's the potatoes, and just adding, I suggest to patients to add flaxseed meal or chia seeds into whatever meal you can sneak that in, because you will get a wonderful amount of fiber from those and you know, additional nutrients. And you know, a lot of patients also ask about supplements, you know, so we're talking about how we eat and what we choose and the great variety that's available to us. Dr. Shwiso, could you tell us what your thoughts are on supplements?
Absolutely. This is, you know, I'm laughing because we get asked, as a gastroenterologist, this is one of the most
Yeah.
common questions that we get asked. And then people are coming in, they're asking, Doc, so which probiotic, there's 100 of them on the market, which one do you recommend? And they're really shocked when I tell them none, because gut health is not a probiotic, not a supplement, it's not a colon cleanse, and not a detox, right? It's basically a lifelong journey that will lead you to essentially better digestive health and all, you know, all other aspects of your health. So the supplements. So sorry, guys, the answer is no particular supplements that we will be recommending. And the reason why is, like, for example, you know, a lot of people like to take omega-3 fatty acids in a pill form. And I tell them, instead of buying that in a pill form, why don't you consider adding, like Dr. Arthur just mentioned, flaxseed or hemp seed or chia seed to your morning oatmeal, your smoothie,
Yeah.
or your salad, or your soup, or your stew. You have so many opportunities throughout the day. And the reason why is if you actually opt for an actual whole food in its wholesome entity, you are not only getting, let's say, that omega-3 fatty acid that you need or you think you need, you're also accidentally getting extra fiber, you're getting extra protein, you're getting some iron, magnesium, calcium, and all these other chemicals. So this is where the concept of the food matrix is so incredibly important. When we look at a food as a whole, it's very complex. There's thousands of chemicals in a food matrix, say, of an apple. But when you start to, process this apple and turn it into a powder, and you're extracting certain ingredients from it, you are disrupting that food matrix, and it's no longer you're no longer getting a benefit of eating a whole apple. It blows my mind when I see commercials for these vitamins that are made out of fruit. So they basically are processing the fruit into a powder form, and they're marketing it as a, hey, you don't have time to eat apples, just pop this pill. It just does not work that way. And I'm sorry to tell you, this does not work like that, because you are disrupting the food matrix that carries all the other benefits to your health.
And that's so well said. And, we're here to be truth tellers. We're here to dispel myths that are out there. And ultimately we want what's best for all of you out there, our patients. So these are questions that are common. Don't hesitate to keep asking them. And share the good news to anybody who will listen, that we need to really eat food as Mother Nature intended. Not how it's juiced or processed or created into powder form. I'd argue that it tastes a lot.
I do want to follow up, because when
Yeah.
Dr. Latimer was explaining the different types, when you were giving an example of rice, for example, that concept of eat the rainbow, right? We always hear eat the rainbow. And what does it really mean? So Dr. Latimer had suggested that, let's say, if you are used to eating certain type of rice or white rice, yes, go an extra mile and explore brown rice or wild rice or red rice or black rice. Yep. Let's say, when we look at the colors in different products, the colors carry certain phytonutrients, which have anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer properties. And the general thought is that the more colorful, the brighter, the more amount of phytonutrients and colors and minerals and vitamins in it. So let's say there is actually a difference between a red onion and a white onion, because red onion, because it's so red and bright, actually has more chemicals that have these anti-inflammatory properties. The same with a cabbage. For example, if you have a choice between your yellow or green cabbage and a red cabbage, nutritionally speaking, red cabbage will be actually more, will be better for you.
Well, it's awesome to think about. The foods are telling us, eat me, right? The more beautiful the color, the more loud the color, it hopefully can grab our attention more in the grocery store. And, when we think about these changes, and again, we're not suggesting a particular diet. We're not suggesting, one nutrition plan. But, I would challenge anyone who's listening to consider replacing some meat that might be on your plate with a different protein, like legumes. Give it a try, and you'll see something also on your grocery bill, which might also, support these dietary changes. Dr. Shwiso, it looked like you were about to say something.
So, because I do have to bring this up, because I see this every day in my clinic. So a lot of patients, when we talk about macronutrients, and that's actually one of the reasons I'm not really a big proponent of speaking about macronutrients and just looking at food as a whole. when I hear this concern loud and clear every day. People are concerned, am I getting enough protein? And then when I try to break it down, a lot of patients are telling me, when I ask them, okay, what do you think are the best sources of protein? Almost every person would say chicken. And I say, hey, what about, can you give me an example of any other protein source? And then I hear silence, right? So people need to know that chicken is not the only source of protein out there. Plants certainly have protein, and they're not lesser of a protein. There's a lot of athletes who eat plants and they fuel their body and they have incredible exercise performance. So what's very important is that, we have to educate people that proteins are found in plants as well. And we have to tell them that, for example, legumes or chickpeas, lentils, they're an amazing source of protein, that there are proteins in grains, there are proteins in broccoli as well. So this is something that needs to be dispelled. And I am, every day I sound like a broken record, but I tell my patients, you are certainly not in this country. We are not at risk of protein deficiency. Certainly not.
Well said.
I do want to bring up one thing. I know we're talking about abundance, and I know that is our focus, but there are certainly some food groups that are more problematic, and I just wanted to share a little bit about these food groups with everyone. And so the ones that tend to be more problematic are going to include things like processed meats. So what are processed meats? They're going to be sausage. Unfortunately, there are things that people like to eat, but they're going to be things like sausage and bacon, things that are kind of processed and mushed together, don't exactly look like the way that they started. And that's because a lot of the chemicals within these processed meats are actually directly toxic to our GI tract. They have a lot of nitrates and nitrites, and when you consume them at a high volume, it's going to increase your risk for certain cancers, specifically colon cancer. Red meats as well. They also tend to increase your risk for colon cancer because of these chemicals that are within them. So while I'm not suggesting that you can never have red meat, again, I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that the amount we are consuming, a large volume, can have a negative effect on our health. And as gastroenterologists, we're constantly working to educate people about, the risk of colon cancer, how to prevent colon cancer. And, those two categories are kind of an easy win. If you really want to try to work towards reducing your risk of, colon cancer, red meats and processed meats are definitely going to be on the list. Other things that are maybe non-food, which is alcohol. I don't know, some people might consider it food, but questionable. It is problematic. I think a lot of people do know that with high volumes of alcohol, you're going to increase your risk of liver disease, right? And so what happens is that you get this fatty deposition inside the liver, and over time, this fatty deposition can cause, inflammation, and ultimately, over a longer period of time, it can lead to cirrhosis, which is permanent, scarring and poor functioning of the liver. But, alcohol also has effects other places in our body. And, it can increase your risk for cancer in other organs as well, including the colon. So, if you're interested in, focusing on your health, just keep in mind that the total amount of alcohol you are consuming, kind of on a dose-related response, is going to impact your risk for certain types of cancers. And so if you're open to and willing to limit your alcohol intake, that is definitely something that you should look at.
This is so well said, Dr. Latimer. I have to tell you that several years back, a lot of physicians actually were okay and even recommending red wine. Now, see, this is how medicine is so fascinating. We are learning so much every year, and there's new data to support or refute certain claims. So, we back in the day, we thought that red wine was completely okay. And the reason why red wine was part of a healthy diet was because it had this antioxidant polyphenol called resveratrol. Well, years go by and we're finding out, well, oops, we were wrong about that one too. Resveratrol actually comes from the skin of the grapes from the red wine. So it really has nothing to do with the alcohol. It has to do with the grapes. So now we changed our recommendations. We no longer recommend red wine as a healthy option. Recent systematic review and meta-analysis from Journal of American Medical Association showed that, well, we were really wrong about that alcohol recommendation, and now we're certainly trying to get everybody on the same page to recommend against it.
It's really helpful to hear that, and I think when we think about colon cancer and inflammation in particular, a lot of times I get questions about, well, I want to know what my family risk is. And we need to think about lifestyle risk. We really need to have a conversation about what that actually looks like. Pardon me, my camera's running away. So when as a patient, please know that we want you to think about the global potential risks to your health. Genetics are one thing. We can't really control that. You may have a genetic risk for certain cancers, but the big picture here is that what you do every day also has a tremendous impact, and what you do tomorrow and what you do 2 years from now can impact your health and your future. And this brings to mind also the question about antibiotics. I bet you two have tons of questions about how antibiotics impact gut health. What advice do you have for patients about this?
Sure, so I can take this one. So obviously, when there's a clear-cut indication, you have an abscess, you have a urinary tract infection with an isolated pathogenic microbe, and you certainly have to take an antibiotic, then you have no choice. But as we all know, antibiotic prescriptions are abused these days, and a lot of times they're being prescribed without real clear indication that there's an actual infection, maybe just in case prescription. The reason why this can be a problem is, let's say if you take a 10-day course of Augmentin or any other antibiotic, you are killing not only, let's say, that E. coli in the urine, but you are actually killing all the good bugs throughout your digestive tract. And unfortunately, it can take anywhere between 3 to even 6 months to rebuild all these good bugs back in your digestive system. Remember that, then obviously when the highly hyperpalatable food rich in salt, sugar, and fat comes down the digestive pipe, that's not going to help the case either, right? So that E. coli, salmonella, whatever pathogen is causing the illness actually thrives on super palatable foods. So this is actually the time, let's say if you do need to take a prescription for the antibiotics because you have a good reason, then this is maybe the time to really think about, okay, what else can I do to kind of protect my good microbes? And again, the answer is not to go to the grocery store and buy probiotic in pills, but this is the time to think about, what am I putting into my body? This is actually the time to consider fermented foods. I can't believe we haven't even talked about the fermented foods yet. Gut health topic. So this is the time to think about, what are the good fermentable food options for me to take during this time while I'm taking my antibiotics? This is actually the time where you should be focusing, you know what, I really need to rest. I really need to get good quality sleep. I really need to put all the external triggers aside, and I really need to focus on myself. That will actually speed up your recovery. Whether you need to go outside, get some fresh air, go for a walk, rest, hydrate your body, get the fermented food on board, and you will heal that way.
That's outstanding. And what I'm hearing is just this resounding message is that, our lifestyle really can dictate our health. and specifically with our gut health, as you both have said, there are so many wonderful ways that can impact the whole person, all of us. And I just want to invite both of you to share some closing thoughts. I think we're coming to our last couple of minutes here, unfortunately. I know we could talk all day, but Dr. Latimer, would you like to share any closing thoughts?
Sure. And I wish we had more time because there's so much good
Yeah,
information that we would love to share with you. I mean, we haven't even really broached the subject of like, the brain gut, connection and how, your gut health influences your mental health and your, cognition and learning and all these kinds of things. But I think what I would hope that people would take away from this is that one, it's not about perfection, it's about improvement. If you can
right.
start to improve the way that you look at food and that you prepare food and you select your food and you think about the abundance of healthy food options out there and you start to add those into the diet, you're going to see a benefit. You don't have to be perfect every meal and every day and all the time. You have to find something that's going to work for you. But if you make a commitment to it and you find small ways to make improvements here and there every day, in the long term, you're going to see a huge benefit to your health, to your sense of wellness, to your longevity, to your mental health. And that's really what we're here to promote. It's about a healthy life. It's about a long life. And it's about the diversity and abundance of food options that you have out there that you should open your mind to.
It's also inspiring to hear. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Shweso, any last words today?
Yes, this was amazing. And like I said, we can probably do 7 more hours because I feel like we haven't touched so many other aspects of this. But remember, gut health is powerful, right? It's not only about your digestion, it's just about the improvement of your overall quality of life. And who doesn't want to live longer and healthier and more functional? We all do. So definitely, even if you don't suffer from any digestive issues yet, you need to pay attention to this because that really translates into your overall health. So thank you for having us. It was really great being part of this.
Well,
Can I add just one more thing? I just wanted to plug that if you're 45 or older, please talk to your doctor about colon cancer
awesome.
screening. There are lots of options out there, and this is such an important thing you can do for your health as well.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you. Well, to all of you listening, we are, of course, as you can see, very excited to talk about all of this, and we wish you all the best in your health. Food is medicine. Food is medicine, and our lifestyle is medicine. So thank you for tuning into our Facebook Live event. For health information like this, please do visit kp.org. And then from all of us at Kaiser Permanente, be well.